how they beautify our community, how it encourages people to go out for a walk, how it improves the community's wellness, physical wellness, opportunities to come together and build community connections instead of being isolated, because isolation is actually an epidemic. There's people that have serious mental health issues and even up to suicidal tendencies because of isolation. So we need more community spaces where we can come together. And let me advocate for kids. That's my number one job. On a Friday night, on the weekend, where can your kids go for free? Okay, because I'm a social worker and I work with a lot of young people that can't go anywhere for free on the weekends, on the evenings. Most of the crime and things where not only kids get in trouble, but kids get seriously hurt and injured is after school because they don't have healthy outlets that are free. Not everybody has money to go everywhere and vacation. They have to be able to access their local green spaces. Those are everything that I brought up has been studied by people with PhDs. And my job as a leader is to bring that evidence-based practice and to implement it. Okay, those are the experts, and I've done enough research to implement what the experts are advocating for. So I support all the green spaces. In terms of the general schools, I think that there's a lot of things that we can do, but I do support this partnership in particular. And I think that the majority of the board here also supports this partnership. And so since there is a tight window for this grant, and we could potentially miss out on millions of dollars for these schools. I don't know anybody that has millions of dollars, but I don't. So we're not in a financial situation to turn down those opportunities. And so I would like to make a motion to move forward this discussion on the JPA with the city. And that way, this is time sensitive. So if we could connect with the city to go over the agreements and to bring back something to present to the board. And so that's my motion. And unless and we could go ahead and take a vote on that motion.
Point of order, you cannot make a motion like that.
I know it's a discussion. Yeah, it's a discussion, but
Discussion item only.
Okay, wonderful. Then I'm going to go ahead and give direction to move forward in exploring this partnership. And then that way, and I think we have a board majority here that have given that direction. And since this is a tight window, I would like a follow-up on that. Hopefully the city is ready to present something by next week to the board. Hopefully by Wednesday, we'll have something to present. Well, hopefully we have something at least by next Wednesday to present to the board, so that way we could look over it and not miss out on this potential opportunity. We do have board majority, even though some people may disagree. I heard, Mr. De La Torre, are you in agreement with that?
absolutely, I'm in favor.
Wonderful,
But
thank you.
if I may add just real quickly, I know we were looking at also buildings, that we have currently at the school sites. As we know, also green space is very important for our students, for their well-being, social, emotional well-being. But, a lot of these classrooms that we have, they could be used for senior classes, with yoga, summer classes, Zumba, ESL, citizenship. And I know that currently the city of La Puente has those offered at the park. But, if they can also have these satellite classes where community members can, walk to these, to take these courses, these classes, I think that would be so beautiful. I mean, I'm excited to see it happening. But yes, I do. You do have my support, and I hopefully we can bring this to a vote, soon, and then look at our options. So, but yes, I am in favor. Thank you.
Ms. Yunes, are you supportive of moving forward in this directive?
100%.
Wonderful. So we have board majority for the directive. Thank you, Mr. Roychowdhury. Mr. Kwok, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you. So you say that there's a time constraint, right? And yet, is there really a time constraint? I'm not saying that there isn't a time constraint, right? But it's got to be corroborated that there's this time constraint, because you're assuming a fact that's not necessarily evidence that there's a time constraint.
The grant writer told them himself, the expert.
I've, with respect, I stand by whatever I had to say. If that was the case, then they have no issue with respect to putting it in writing, right, regarding that. But what I'm saying is that I find it very ironic that you're actually pointing to a PowerPoint presentation that you deprive the rest of our board to actually see, right, in order for it to be discussed. And you claim that you're a team player, yet all of a sudden we've never seen that. If you recall, we had a law firm that said, here's what land use is. Here's a presentation with respect to that. You had even brought up issues about legal, right? Are they legal? And I had said before that there was a presentation. It was unilaterally pulled from us looking at it. And I don't understand how that could be the case. And then when I brought it up courteously and say, hey, let's go ahead and bring it. We're all in favor. We had consensus with respect to that. Let's just take a look at it, right? Yet we still haven't done it. And it's still there. And now we have the situation where we have, we have an exigency. We have an emergency. We got to, really? Right? There is a process with respect to this for it to be done. As I said before, I'm not against doing something with respect to that. I am against, however, not having fidelity to the proper process to go ahead and do that. I am against that. And we have all of this other stuff that is so, in reality, it's just so hypocritical. If the shoe was on the foot, they say, hey, we couldn't talk about it. We didn't have input on it. Where's the input from our families? Where, when something happens, we gotta go to the public and get some sort of public meeting, or we got to do a survey or whatever the case may be. Or what about the employees? Don't the employees have a right to go ahead and say, hey, this is what we want? At least have a right to be heard. But what we have here is they don't have a right. We're just going to do that. How is that even proper with respect to the process? There is a process. You claim, or there's been many claims before, we did this, we did that. It was a rush to judgment, but yet this is exactly what this thing is right here. The school district financially is looking at a $12.5 million budget deficit. We have these financial town halls, right? Which the person that wanted the most on that never even showed up to most of them, right? I was there for all of them. I listened to this, right? You are not going to have a functional school district if you don't have the ADA to support it. Why? Because we are a state aid school district. We're not a basic aid school district. We are a state aid school district. And you could do all these other things here, but what are we doing for our kids? We're not even allowing them a seat at the table. How is that? This is completely an abomination to the whole process. Again, I want to stress, not against that. If ultimately this is what it's considered, right? And reached, and we go through the sanctity of the process. Okay with that. But there is a process. No expert here. I'm a lawyer. Am I expert at this? No, I'm not. You're a banker. You're an expert at this? No. You're a teacher, right? So that's what I say. We go through the process. If ultimately goes that, no problem, right? But there is a process. Why? Because fundamentally, we have a fiduciary duty to one thing only, to our kids, public education, and our students. That's it. Thank you very much. I yield back.
Sure, go ahead, Ms. Quinones. I mean, just to clarify, we already gave directive. That's just your opinion, but thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm a little bothered by Gino's statement, and simply because when we were closing schools, was there anybody on that committee? There was nobody in the committee from our community. When they decided to close schools, did they remember that Palm Elementary, for example, the school that they decided to keep open, there may be a problem with the soil. It may be contaminated. But instead, they rushed into that without real community input. Los Robles was closed. I mean, they should have taken the time to really get to know the community. That didn't happen. So now to say that some of us don't care about community feedback, that's absolutely ridiculous. When I go anywhere, I ask for community input. And I can tell you 100% that the people in La Puente, where Del Valle is, where Sunset is, they're always telling me we need more parks. When I go to La Puente Park, it's overcrowded. So the same children that go to our schools live in the area. So to me, we don't need an expert to tell us we need more green space. We needed the experts in our community to tell us what schools to close and not close, but we rushed into it. So to say sometimes we need community input and sometimes we don't, we always need community input because the district belongs to all of us. Okay, and I think all of us have heard the community, and the community wants more green space. We don't need 100 PhDs to come and tell us that. We see it every single day. Thank you.
Actually, I may, and then you can may.
Oh, go ahead.
So, I recall with the school closures, we did have overwhelming feedback by the community. I saw it. I received the emails and the letters, and they said, don't close the schools. Did we respect the community feedback? Okay, so we did have overwhelming input on the latter end, and we still didn't respect the majority community. Okay, now in terms of the process, on October 2023, when they were closing the schools down our throat, they did do a presentation. It's a real property surplus presentation because they already were thinking about maybe selling the property. I don't know. But in there, it also tells us that we need to take steps to retain our district ownership. Even the professionals in that report said, retain it. This is your valuable asset. And then the process is, I'm referring to a presentation that Mr. Kwok actually lied and said that he didn't receive. We all received a presentation on 4/17/2025, another presentation on a real district properties, okay? So I don't want to call you a liar, but that was a lie. You did get information on options of the properties. And within that, the first page says, retain your district properties. So I did read them. I'll encourage you to read them as well. So based on those, the joint powers agreement was one of the suggestions, okay? Now, when you think about education and what the parents need, let's focus on the LCAP because that's the shining star here. So the LCAP says, what are the parents' goals? What are the district priorities, the LCAP priorities? College and career readiness. Yes, we could get that at these school sites with these partnerships, especially with their community services component where they have these diverse programs that they could bring to our community, that they could offset the cost. Then district programs. We could have all kinds of hands-on learning opportunities at these sites, okay? Student engagement, there's going to be a plethora of engagement there. Support networks, these opportunities to commune is where people cultivate support networks. Parent involvement, the parents will be there, okay? So all the goals within the LCAP, these spaces as green spaces, whatever we cultivate, and it's not only gardens, we're going to have all kinds of diverse, robust learning opportunities, including the sciences, the arts, recreation. This is absolutely for the best interest of our students because when you do your research, the evidence will show that. So we already gave directive in terms of the JPA, but we are having a general discussion on all the properties that we're at right here. So Mr. Kwok.
Thank you very much, Madam President. So let me give you some facts here. The idea that there was no input with respect to the reconfiguration committee, let me give you the facts. So reconfiguration had been something that had been discussed in the school district for decades. Before I was even elected the first time, there was a 7-Eleven committee. They actually issued a report. I won't cast any aspersions about reading the report, but it was there. And there were representatives from throughout the school district, including leaders from Apuente. Not just a representative from every collective bargaining unit was there as well, but there were business leaders, there were other people that were community leaders and seen as such, but were not employed by the district. 7-Eleven committee, it was there. And how many have really read that report? Well, let me remind you. So in that report, it issued a number of school sites that they said should be closed or consolidated. And one of them was that Workman High School should be closed. Another one was that the school district office should be closed. And then, of course, the question is, well, where is the school district office going to move to, right? If it's going to be closed and sold, well, of course, it's going to move to Workman High School. Now, ultimately, of course, that did not happen. But, and I don't want to call people out, but have you read that report? Do you even know of its existence? And then after that, let me just say, I'll get to that report because that report I had seen simply because it was notated. But as you can see, how misleading is that? You're just gonna get a PowerPoint, which is supposed to be just a abbreviated form, it's a summary form. You have to have other contact with somebody actually here doing the presentation. But she made sure that that presentation did not happen, right? But she heard it because she has the agenda preparation with the superintendent, so I
I'm
would.
sorry, Mr.
say that
Roychowdhury,
was
did
that.
they receive this presentation? Because he's calling me a liar.
As I was saying,
Denigrate my name.
as
as
I
a
was
leader.
saying,
No, excuse me.
receipt
Chair.
is not the issue.
And so,
The issue is whether or not
receive
this
it,
is
right?
something that was
Exactly, thank you.
presented in a board meeting,
Thank
which
you.
was
So you
not
did
presented.
receive it, so I encourage you
check.
to read it. Yeah, I encourage you to read the reports, okay, the newest ones.
So the other thing that I would say is because you brought that up, is that we have had multiple reconfiguration committees. We had that one that issued a report that was accepted by the board as a report in 2010. And then we had another reconfiguration committee that was pre-COVID. And then we had another one that was post-COVID. All right? That went through this whole process. The idea that there was no process is not borne out by the actual facts. The facts actually show its exact opposite. If you were to provide that level of committee and process, right, to this, no issues at all. None at all, right? Yet you want to point to something that never happened. It didn't exist. At least 3 reconfiguration committees came to the same rough conclusion because they knew at that time that the district cannot sustain itself as a revenue limit state aid school district. It was done only because of finances. So I care very much about that to say to you that that's actually what happened. And there were other surveys, don't need to get into that because other surveys was not unanimous. You hear the people here, but it's not unanimous. That's not the rest of the community that we serve. So there's a sanctity in the process. There should be a process. Let's go through the process. And then wherever it leads, I'm okay with. But you must have the process. Thank you very much. I yield back.
Okay, so I'm gonna do the closing comments so we could just move on already, okay? And so